In an effort to be vaguely topical, let's talk about the GTA 6 leak. A hacker broke into the Rockstar network and stole a bunch of stuff from the development of GTA 6. GTA 6 is expected to not ship for at least 2 years, and I suspect that this leak is going to actually push that back some. Let's talk about the consequences of this and other leaks. This particular leak is a really big one because the hacker actually got into the network itself. They got 90 videos and actual source code, which is all kind of swirling around the internet now. Any leak is potentially quite damaging to the developers because this stuff is going out into the world without context. You see a gameplay video. It's not presented with enough context around it for you to understand necessarily that this is 2 years before the game is released, that it doesn't have final shaders, that it's using temporary assets that were taken from GTA 5, that it's a secret mobile build of the game. Who knows? All of that context is missing. So as a result, this is going out into the world, and people who do not have the information or the sophistication to properly consume this data are seeing something without that context and jumping to their own conclusions. You've seen this with the GTA 6 for sure, because people are saying, this game looks like crap. Well, of course it looks like crap. It's more than 2 years away from release. But this lack of context actually is the reason why most leaks can be quite damaging. If something leaks which shows the MTX schedule for an online service game, then that can cause a big backlash as well, because people look at this and they see that you're going to be selling gun skins and they are like, blah, 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 you said no gun skins, or you said we were going to get all the gun skins for free. And in this case, the leak is happening again without the context of the fact that you are going to get all the gun skins through some sort of quest line or something, and that the MTX availability was only there for people who joined the game late or whatever. So any leak, because it's a leak, has that downside. It is data going out without context wrapped around it. So the data or screenshot or video or whatever is going out there, and the studio isn't contextualizing it in a way that makes it consumable by most of the game playing public. Now, that being said, should studios always have the right to contextualize every single thing that they say to gamers? No, I'm not sure that I agree with that either, because another word for contextualize is spin. So sometimes what is happening with a leak is that something that was going to be spun in a certain way is actually now not able to be spun. But again, the studio now has to deal with that fact, even if maybe that's what you want. So for any kind of leak that occurs that releases screenshots or movies or things like that, the downside is mostly about the studio losing control of the narrative, because now they're having to deal with responding to that content out in the world. Maybe people are angry because they think it looks ugly, or maybe people are angry because they feel like the roadmap that was accidentally leaked looks predatory, or maybe they are dealing with the fact that it seems like the game is only coming out the PS5 and they said it was going to come out on all the consoles. For whatever reason, that lack of context puts them on their back foot, and now they're dealing with that. That's the story they're having to deal with. For really early leaks, you've effectively started your marketing campaign, and maybe you've started your marketing campaign a year or more before you intended to. As someone who's run both short and long marketing campaigns, what I'll tell you is that long marketing campaigns can be very draining to the team, because you're just running out of stuff that's good enough to show. And if your leak was big enough, maybe you've already effectively shown a bunch of stuff without being able to get any sort of marketing benefit out of it at all. Certainly, I would say that's what's happened here with GTA 6. A whole bunch of stuff just got shown. They're not going to be able to use any of that in their marketing in the future. But they probably also had no intention of starting their marketing campaign this year. But now, because of the narrative that's shaping up, they almost have no choice. They've essentially been forced to start their marketing campaign early. And doing so is going to take resources and attention away from development of the actual game, as things need to be polished and brought to a shippable quality way earlier than normal in order to have something to show to the public. But in the case of the GTA 6 leak, there's a second thing. In addition to gameplay footage and art assets that are going to be more than 2 years old at time of launch leaking, source code leaked. That's a totally different set of problems. For a game that's going to have an online component, like presumably GTA 6 will, you've now drilled a whole bunch of potential exploit holes into your code base, because people can start to dig around in there and look for ways to take advantage of your gameplay code and your networking code and your server code and all of that stuff. Even for a game that isn't an online service, it is a potential opportunity for exploits to be found. It's just you may not care as much in the case of a single player game. But for a game like GTA, where they plan to run a service for years and years and make tons of money on it, now there's a potential that people are going to find a bunch of backholes and security loopholes that allow them to undermine their game economy. And if you're thinking, great, because giant multinational corporations don't deserve to make money on live services, hold on a second, because that's not what's going to actually happen. Rockstar knows that this is a giant security hole as well. So what's going to actually happen is that they are going to have to go in, look at what was lost, what was leaked, and potentially change massive parts of their engine and their gameplay code in order to obfuscate some of these potential exploits. And the consequence of that is more time, more money. So the game potentially comes later. Let me see if I can make it a little bit more dire. It's certainly possible, certainly conceivable, that Rockstar might be forced to turn off GTA Online or Red Dead Redemption Online because the security vulnerabilities that exist in this leaked code likely exist in those games as well. And in order to protect the integrity of those services, it's possible that they might decide that, at least for now, they need to take those services down so that nothing malicious can occur to them. So the consequence of this leak from Rockstar is that there's a high probability that the game will actually end up getting delayed because of it, because there will be the necessity for new code to come into being in order to patch over whatever security problems are perceived to exist. And a whole bunch just cropped up because a whole bunch of code just leaked. Now, BioWare's had lots of leaks over the years. I'm pretty sure that on Mass Effect 3, every single update that was ever done for that game was accidentally leaked by Microsoft. As it was loaded up into the various storefronts, somebody in one of the territories accidentally leaked it and it went live, or at least the description went live, or screenshots went live, or whatever. Every single time. It was like clockwork. Dragon Age has had a bunch of leaks that have come out of quantitative focus tests. Quantitative focus tests being very large online focus tests where a survey is sent out. Typically, you don't get a lot of leaks from qualitative focus tests. These are the ones where you sit in a room and there's a two-way mirror and someone's asking you a bunch of questions. A couple of reasons for that. You sign an NDA, you look a human in the eyes who says, don't leak. And also, because it's a relatively small test, there's a much better chance that you're gonna get caught. But in the case of quantitative tests, usually these are relatively anonymous, very large, thousands of people. So the barrier to leak is quite a bit lower. And yeah, Dragon Age has definitely had lots of leaks come out of quantitative focus testing. Another source of leaks is data mining. So sometimes you release a version of the product, a demo, an alpha, or something like that, and people actually dig around in the build itself to extract things about your game. A common one that's happened to BioWare a lot of times is the mining of the talk table. The talk table is a collection of strings in the game. So if you can find that and it's not adequately encrypted, you can find every single line of dialogue that is spoken in the game. And that can be spoiler-tastic because it's going to say things, it's going to potentially reveal massive things about the story itself. But again, it's without context. So some lines are spoken in jest, potentially, and in the text-only version of the data mining, maybe that's not obvious. Or maybe they are in a very unlikely branch of the story, and now they've been released to the public as a common thing that's happening. Or maybe they were just a surprise that's now been ruined for the gaming public as a whole because of that leak. So what has to be done is now whenever you release a build of the game, you have to obfuscate and hide some of the more easily mined bits of data in order to protect yourself from those leaks. Something that you can do that Dragon Age has been playing around with, but I know a lot of other game studios definitely do as well, is the intentional leak. And what you are doing there is you are building your content for a test in such a way under the assumption that it will leak, or even the desire that it will leak. So why would you want that? For all the reasons why focus sets can be so destructive, because they're suddenly giving a whole bunch of people the opportunity to express their opinions on something, you might actually want that. Maybe you build your data in such a way that either it's isolated enough from the game or it's contextualized enough in the data itself such that the feedback that you're going to get by it leaking onto the internet is exactly what you're looking for. And because it's just a test, it's just a focus test that's leaking, you have immense plausible deniability. If you intentionally leak your potential squirrel follower for Dragon Age 4 and the internet just craps all over it because they hate everything about that concept, you can wash your hands of it and walk away, and it was just a test. It was just a thing you were testing, no harm, no foul to a large degree. Indeed, what you can even do is say, we put that in the test to try to hide the fact that it was Dragon Age. And you guys found us out, but we were never making a squirrel follower. I understand the attraction of being the person who leaks something, either because you are chasing clout and you want to be important on the internet for a little bit, or because as in the case of the GTA 6 guy, you're actually looking to extort money out of Rockstar. Not sure how well that's going to work out, but I mean, that's the goal there, is make some money. And I understand the attraction to consuming leaks for things that you are interested in because you are excited about something and you're looking for additional information. I doubt I'm going to stop the people from leaking things, but for those of you who consume leaks, what I would caution you about is if you're excited about something, a leak has the possibility to sap away that excitement in a way that maybe isn't deserved. Because again, you are getting something without adequate context, and you are going to react to it in a visceral way when the final product could look a lot different than what you are seeing in this leak. I don't know if that's going to stop any of you, but now you know. We have merch now. This is High Tea on the High Seas. We actually have a hoodie and a flag for this one. If you're interested in the merch, there is a shelf down below the video. A special thanks to my members, as always. They provide the resources that this channel needs to keep running. If you're interested in becoming a member, there's a link in the description of this video. What do you think? How do you react to leaks of things that you are interested in? Do you eat it all up? Do you understand that sometimes these things are giving you information that maybe you didn't want, and that they are hurting your enjoyment of the final game or movie or what have you? Do you think information should be free? Do you think that companies should just share everything all the time? Do you think that the gaming public is mature and sophisticated enough to handle that sort of situation where there's just a constant barrage of dev information coming at them all the time? I don't think so, but if you disagree, let me know those things down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up because that will let YouTube know that this is worth sharing with other people. I will see you again soon. Thank you.